अर्जुन उवाच स्थितप्रज्ञस्य का भाषा समाधिस्तस्य केशव स्थितधि किं प्रभाषेत किमासीत व्रजेत किम्. Arjuna asked Sri Krishna Paramatma, "O Keshava, please explain to me how an enlightened sage would look like, act like, and how to identify such a being among us. How such a person would sit, walk, and talk." Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Prajahati yadha kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmanyevatmana tushtaha Sthitaprajnastadochyate. Krishna Paramatma replies, Arjuna, when a man is completely free from any worldly desires and have found content in his soul, then that man would be considered a yogi. Here, there is an important thing to be observed. We all try to relinquish our desires, but there is some sort of force and compulsion involved in it. When we force ourselves to renounce pleasures, then at some point we could default from such a stage with a little temptation. Sri Krishna Paramatma implies that a seeker must be unaffected by both pleasure and pain. When we base our personality and principles to living a life of pride, fame, rich, or any other superlative forms, it's not really possible to be free from desires. Key is to completely change the base of our personality or the real meaning for our life, which we believe to live for, to a spiritual path. When the reason for our life is shifted to finding ourselves and serving the God alone, then all the desires, pain, and suffering, those factors detach from us. That's how we become a free aspirant to travel this God path. When the soil of the plant is poisoned, no matter how much water or sunlight is given to it, it won't sustain for longer because the root will rot soon. Similarly, we need to keep our base intent for our life clear as to realize our inner truth and be determined in finding it, thus keeping our roots strong. When the root is very strong, then any atmospheric changes will not disturb our inner peace. Dukkeshvanu vignamanaha sukeshu vigataspruhaha vitaragabhayakrodaha stitadhirmuniruchyate. Krishna Paramatma says a seeker who is undisturbed by anxiety and fear, nor attached to happiness under favorable circumstances. This seeker will be determined to be free from worldly pressures and would have one anger. Such a seeker is called a yogi or muni. Sarvatrana bisneha statta prapya shubhashubham nabhinandati nadvishte tasya prajna pratishtitha. Sri Krishna Paramatma says such a yogi will not be affected by pleasure and pain, good and bad, comfort and discomfort. He is seated in his soul space. The real challenge for a seeker is not to relinquish worldly pleasures in an advanced state of meditation. The real challenge is to cross the path in the beginning filled with varieties and contrast, holding one's inner will so strong and reach the God space. Once we realize our inner self and reach the God space within us, what happens around us in this world will not have an iota of significance. The body of such an aspirant loses its importance to himself, so thus the bodily experiences. Since the experiences are not given any attention to, there is no sense identification to those experiences as well. Such a determined spiritual aspirant will submit all his sensory perception to his inner self, so shunning out all the experiences outside. For such a yogi, sugar and salt doesn't make any difference because he doesn't translate any taste into an identification, so it is not personalized to his likes or dislikes. He has taken himself out of the sensory controls. Yada samharate chayam कूर्मोऽङ्गानीव सर्वशः इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेभ्यः तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता. Sri Krishna Paramatma says, just as a tortoise would take in his limbs under the shell when it senses any danger, a yogi will consecrate all his senses into his inner self and thus be free from any disturbance. Sri Paramahamsa Yogananda says in his book God Talks with Arjuna that a seeker could control his senses or shut down them completely at his will through Kriya practice. Vishaya vinivartante निराहारस्य देहिनः रसवर्जं रसोऽप्यस्य परं दृष्ट्वा निवर्तते. Sri Krishna Paramatma says an ordinary man will do vrata, that is fasting, and a few hours of meditation or japa for a little while for selfish motives or results. And after a while he will go back to rot in sensory pleasures. But a true yogi doesn't free himself from sense controls. For a little while he completely discriminates it from his mind. As spiritual aspirants, we must completely leave the liking for sensory pleasures. This is possible only when we declare our life's purpose to ourselves as to find our inner truth and that alone. Buddha says, when somebody hurts you, leave it, don't react. This has been going on to and fro for so many lives for you, so don't pull the chain further. Drop the chain and be free. Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare.